Are you looking to get on the road to your dream career? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Mentor Select Podcast with your host, Derek Phillips. Always stay up to date on social media at Mentor Select and online at mentorselect.com. Here's your host of the Mentor Select Podcast, Derek Phillips.
Welcome to episode 48 of the Mentor Select Podcast. Truly thrilled that you joined us this week. It's always a pleasure having you tune in. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, rate, review, all of the above, the Mentor Select Podcast on whatever platform that you're listening to us on. And that just helps us really share the message that Mentor Select is all about, helping people, empowering people even better to follow their dreams and to really discover their dream career. It's something that they're really passionate about and feel that they're making an impact on the world. Today, our guest mentor, Michele Erwin. She is a fashion designer. She works for JCPenney's, been in the fashion industry for over 20 years. Also, she's founded a nonprofit organization called All Wheels Up. And throughout the interview, she shares with us basically her inspiration behind founding the organization, the cause, and the progress that they've made over the years for the wheelchair community. So you certainly want to tune in to just be inspired by Michele's story. And she shares a lot of golden gems throughout the interview, just about how you can pursue your dreams and ultimately, just make an impact on the world, help change others' lives. That's really what Michele is focused on, making other people's lives better. So let's see what Michele has to share with us. So today we have Michele on the Mentor Select Podcast. Welcome, Michele.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the time.
It's a pleasure having you. We're definitely looking forward to benefiting from your mentorship during this interview. So very excited.
Me too.
So Michele, on the Mentor Select Podcast, we like to get to know our guest mentors better. So would you mind sharing with us a fun fact that most people don't know about you?
Absolutely. If you do know me, you know I have a love for fashion, and now in my nonprofit sector, I work in the aviation industry, which are obviously two totally different industries. But what people might not know about me is I always had a dream of being a spy. So, yeah, it's kind of a lofty one. But I just think growing up with all those spy movies and, watching, the fun shows with my brother and stuff like that, I think it was something that was always like in the back of my mind of, oh, could I have done that?
That is cool. I wouldn't have guessed that one. So did you ever pursue your aspirations of being a spy?
No, definitely did not pursue that unless you consider, snooping in people's, menacing cabinets being a spy. No. But, I really invested in my career in the fashion industry and really have just had a very long career in the apparel industry.
Cool. So, but it's never too late for you to be a spy.
Hey, you know what? If Washington, D.C. is listening, I am your girl.
That'd be cool. So you mentioned your love for fashion. How long have you been working in the fashion industry?
I have been working in the fashion industry over 20 years. I started out going to the Fashion Institute of Technology, but quite honestly, it started way before that. I loved fashion from a young girl. I would sew clothes for what started out as my dolls. Then I, started sewing clothes for myself and really just always knew that in one way or another, I would be in the fashion industry. I thought it would be design, and as I started my time at FIT, I took my career more on the business side of things. So I have a degree in fashion design and merchandising.
So has working in the fashion industry lived up to your expectations?
When you're younger and you're first starting out, you definitely think, like all things, it would be a little bit more glamorous. But yes, I do love the industry that I have chosen. It still is something that I love. I I'm involved with products every day. I touch and feel fabric and garments. And so on that side of things, and if somebody out there was, wanting to do the business of fashion, you are still, very much involved in products. But my side is that I work on is more on the business side of things, and working with factories overseas to make the products that the designers have had a vision for.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what are some retailers or fashion designers that you've worked for?
Sure. So I have worked for Ralph Lauren, Calvin Klein, Donna Karan, and today I work for JCPenney, which is located in Plano, Texas.
Right.
Yeah, great company to work for. I'm really happy I'm with them.
That's great. So, Michele, on the Mentor Select podcast, we encourage our listeners to follow their passions because we feel that it will lead them to their dream career. So, in addition to working in the design fashion industry, how else are you following your passion?
So I now have a nonprofit called All Wheels Up, and it's a nonprofit that is focused on accessible air travel, specifically funding and conducting research for wheelchair spot on airplanes. It was definitely not something I ever thought that I would be passionate about. This just sort of came into my life. I do have a son who uses a wheelchair, and I learned very early on how difficult it is to travel with someone who has a severe physical disability. And when I had an idea, I, just started doing some research and learned that there was nobody out there doing the research for better accessible air travel. And I really just felt at that time, which was in 2011, it's not me too. It's one of those, you can give somebody the idea, but are they going to run with it? And at that time, it definitely did not seem like anyone was interested in, other organizations taking on this sort of idea. So I've been really pursuing this idea now for 9 years, and it started off really slow and with every door pretty much closing. And now we are an organization that is being taken seriously in Washington and with airlines and other stakeholders to have serious conversations about how we can improve accessible air travel in the future. And it really started off with one question that I asked the FAA 9 years ago is, do we really expect air travel to look the same as it does in 30 years from now?
Wow. Now, you brought up a lot of good points there. And one of them is you never imagined that you would be the one fighting this cause and this being a passion for you. But as a result of your son using a wheelchair, that's something that, hey, you decided if not you, then who? And that's really inspirational. And I know a lot of the listeners, they may not know what they're passionate about, but your story is kind of inspirational to them where you just never know. The circumstances you end up in may end up being a cause that you become extremely passionate about and potentially do something like you're doing now with All Wheels Up.
I agree.
Really encouraging.
Thank you. I agree. I don't think you have to be young to know what your passion is going to be down the road, or if you have a new career direction that you're thinking about taking. I don't think you should be scared to try something new because you're older. It's definitely been really eye-opening for me to start out in an industry, which is the aviation industry. One, I don't have a degree in aviation, and to sit at tables with stakeholders and have conversations, whether it be at the congressional level or at the engineering level, of what the capabilities are of airplanes as well as policy. It's really for yourself, how educated do you want to be in the direction that you want to go?
Certainly. Talk to us about, I guess, those early days when you're getting started 9 years ago, contacting the FAA. Was that a difficult thing to do?
I would say, not picking up the phone, no, that wasn't difficult because I think I was really naive. I thought, I'm just going to call them up and give them this information that I have, that wheelchairs, tie-down systems that test the 20 crash tests for automobiles, and, hey, all they need is the information and then they can run with it, right? I really thought that's all they needed was, the aviation industry knows nothing about the wheelchair industry, so let me just give them this information. I realized very quickly that just to speak with someone at the FAA was going to be a task in and of itself. And then finally did speak with people at the FAA. And then after months of having conversations about whether or not this was a project that they could take on, while they thought it was a valid idea, they thought it was an interesting idea, and the information that I provided in regards to the crash test results had validity. There was no funding at that point for research. So they gave me a lot of great advice, and that's when I started my organization. The FAA said that, I would need to, get support from the airlines, and I would need to get support from Washington, and both of which at that time, I was just a working mom. So, and, with no aviation experience and no Washington DC experience. And so I was just like, I think it might be easier to start my own company and do the testing myself. At the end of the day, it's all hard, but I think it's just find your path that you think is easier, and that's the one we go with. You definitely want to, in your path, find what you're passionate about and do that, not just because it's more profitable or it's just what are you going to be most passionate about, and that's the road that you should go down.
Yeah, really great advice, certainly. Now, for those of us who have never traveled with someone in a wheelchair in terms of flights, how difficult is it? Why is there a need for an organization like yours, or the cause you're fighting for?
Airplanes do not have a wheelchair accessible spot like you would find, say, on a bus or a train. And so when you have someone who uses a wheelchair, they need to be taken out of their wheelchair, which typically is built for them for their safety. And then they're put sometimes into an aisle chair, which is very much like a dolly, and they're rolled down, say, the very narrow airplane aisle, and then having to take two or more people to lift them into an airplane seat. Sometimes the airplane seat arm doesn't go up, even though they're supposed to have that capability for if you're someone who uses a wheelchair and has a disability. Some people get carried down. They don't want to be on the aisle chair. However, when you have someone who has a severe physical disability and they have very floppy limbs, these are opportunities for people to break bones, to be dropped, to have damage done to their sensitive skin. If they, a lot of people who have disabilities have very sensitive skin, or other side effects that affect their skin because of their disability. And so that can be dangerous as well, and you can get bruised or just injured in that way. And so that's just one aspect in regards to the personal injury for someone who travels in a wheelchair, but then also the damage that can be done to their wheelchairs. And that's a whole different story. Wheelchairs are very expensive. They can cost anywhere between, $10,000 depending on a wheelchair that may be just manual, or $78,000 that is a power wheelchair. And those chairs are definitely, designed for the safety of the wheelchair user. And I don't think that, people outside of the wheelchair community, or even say who don't use those types of wheelchairs, understand the cost and what's, put into those wheelchairs for the comfort and safety of someone who uses that chair. And so when those chairs are put into stowage, they do and have the opportunity to be broken, whether it's luggage being thrown on top, whether it's, things coming loose. Also just a misconception that batteries don't need to be taken out of the wheelchairs in this day and age. The battery technology from the 80s to today is very different, but there is still this misconception. And so a lot of times, the airlines try to take apart the bottom of the wheelchair, trying to disconnect the battery. And the wheelchairs today aren't necessarily built that way for an easy disconnect because the batteries today are safe. So there's a lot of things that happen when say, a wheelchair user gets to their destination and it can be damaged. There could have been, people trying to disassemble a wheelchair for battery sake when that really doesn't necessarily need to happen. But when they get to their destination, they no longer have a working wheelchair. So we're trying to,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's terrible. So we're trying to just figure out ways to improve accessible air travel. And All Wheels Up believes that's a wheelchair spot on airplanes. Our organization has done the first feasibility testing of its kind for a wheelchair spot. And now we're trying to work with Congress and airlines to write the feasibility report that, can be taken, congressionally and to all, to the manufacturers that it is possible. And we can see change. All Wheels Up isn't a policymaking organization. We're just here to provide the research for better accessible air travel. And we really do believe that this is a marketplace opportunity.
Yeah, that's incredible. And like you mentioned, people outside of the wheelchair community are not aware of just how difficult it is for people to travel in airplanes and if you're in a wheelchair, from being physically hurt or their wheelchair being damaged. So I think what your organization is doing is really needed. It's remarkable how much you've accomplished so far, and I'm sure you can continue to accomplish a lot more. Just continue to increase that awareness and then ultimately get wheelchair seats. Is it wheelchair seats or latches on the,
it would be
or tie downs on the?
A wheelchair restrainment system or a wheelchair call on airplanes that would have a wheelchair restrainment system, and then wheelchairs would have to be specifically designed down the road. That would be approved for FAA use. And this is all stuff down the line. We're not saying that this is happening tomorrow. We understand we have a long road. We're already 9 years in, and so I think we have a very clear understanding that this is not going to be a process that's going to happen overnight. But, I always say, we can put a man on the moon. We can have a wheelchair spot on the airplane. So sometimes I really think it's whether or not you want it to happen, not whether, engineering-wise it can happen, because I believe we've proved it can happen.
Right. That's what my grandmother used to always tell me, well, there's a will, there's always a way.
Exactly.
Demonstrating that, and you being a determined mom. Don't sound like you're going to quitting and giving up isn't an option.
I'm not going away anytime soon, though.
Not getting rid of you. That's awesome. So speaking of increasing awareness, people outside of the wheelchair community, you recently did a TEDx talk or TEDx Plano. How was that experience?
That was really exciting. I was so honored to have the opportunity to do that. I was really excited to have that opportunity. And, I never thought it was something that I was going to be able to do. I was just having that sort of courage. So I applied to do a TEDx, and I received an email that I was selected, and I was overjoyed, but also I had a fear of dread. I typically don't do well with public speaking, but with taking on All Wheels Up, I have had to start speaking a lot more. So I joined Toastmasters, and that's really helped me prepare my speeches and how to organize a speech. So I really thought, you're just going to go after it because now you've really committed yourself. So I did it. And quite honestly, after the end of it, it was honestly the most exhilarating experience. It is very surreal. And if you're not someone who's ever had that experience of being on stage and speaking to a large audience, I would suggest trying it. Once it's done, it is an amazing feeling. It is kind of like jumping off a diving board. If you've never done that, and just like this freeing feeling. And I would tell anybody, don't let fear stand in your way, because it's just step off that ledge and try it, because you just never know what's going to happen afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. So I have not done a TEDx yet, but having an opportunity to work with you preparing for your TEDx was a great experience. And you, what we call in the speaking industry, you rocked the stage on the day. So you overcame your fears, and you did an excellent job. So I was really impressed.
Thank you so much.
What has the reception been like since your videos become public? Have you been some good feedback?
I am getting a lot of great feedback. A lot of friends and just people out there who have seen it just contact me and say, awesome, awesome job. A lot of people who are within the wheelchair community who I may have never met are reaching out saying, hey, I heard about your TEDx and I watched it, and really great work, or how can I get involved? So it's been a really great tool to really propel our message and raise awareness for this really important topic.
Definitely. So it's like your purpose outweighed the fear.
Yeah.
So if you would have gave in, if you'd have gave into the fear, then none of this would happen. So that's really awesome.
Exactly. I'll tell you a little story though about, fear. I, had the opportunity to be a bridesmaid at a family wedding. And let's just say this is a family wedding. And I did not give a speech for my cousin because of the fear of just standing up in front of people. And so where I am from where I just was even 12 years ago to where I am today in regards to getting up there and speaking in front of people. So if I can do that, and somebody who couldn't even get up and speak in front of their own family, I think, to today where I gave a TEDx, I think anybody can do that.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great story. And so how did you get to that point from 12 years ago to where you are today, where you just face your fears and take them head on?
It was a lot of different things. It was one, just facing your fears. Yes. Saying, okay, is this important enough to me to put myself out there? And I will be honest, I put myself out there. The very first time I went to Washington, D.C., I gave a presentation to about 100 people. And unfortunately, I was called out on as, they said they could tell that this was the first time I was giving a speech. They could tell I was maybe not as prepared as I should be. And I was a little discouraged and upset. But they did follow it up with, if you want to be taken seriously, and we do think that this is a serious topic, just keep working at it and come back prepared. And instead of letting that criticism define my work, I improved. And I went on to going to the UK and speaking at Virgin Atlantic at one of their symposiums, hosted for wheelchair spots on airplanes. And I was better prepared, and it was better received. And now I go to Washington regularly, and I do speak to, people in Congress, our senators and our representatives about our work. And it's, how much work are you willing to put into what you're passionate about?
Certainly, great advice. And yeah, I'm sure most people, if they were to receive that initial, I guess, guidance or criticism from Congress members, that probably would have discouraged them to just give up.
Yes.
But hey, you took their advice, and hey, all right, I'll take it and I'll improve and use that to fuel me to be better prepared next time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
instead of, saying, okay, this is the end of me, you have to dust off and just keep pushing forward. It could have gone either way, but I think, every successful story has a similar story in regards to, there was criticism at first.
Right. Yeah, that's really encouraging. So being a mom and working for JCPenney's and also running a nonprofit, you have a lot going on. How do you manage all of that?
I have a wonderful support system. All Wheels Up does have volunteers. We have Alan Choulette, who is also our vice president. He is also a wheelchair user. He is a great guiding light to our organization. And we have a great board members. All of our board members are, active participants. And I would tell anybody who's trying to create a nonprofit or even start a company, try not to go it alone. It's just too hard. And you really need to have that support system because you cannot be everything to everybody. So I would definitely say that. Make sure you have your support team. And if you can't have a support team, at least have some cheerleaders.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because we can, on the outside looking in, we'll see people doing all these remarkable things, but realizing that most often they have a team behind them. They're just not doing it themselves.
Exactly.
That's really good advice. It can be discouraging if you think, man, I got to do all these things all alone.
Right.
You don't have to.
And on the home front, I have, a wonderful husband and wonderful parents, and my kids, understand that, if I'm working late at night, they understand it. I'm trying to provide, whether it's for them or for All Wheels Up. So I just have just understanding family and friends. It's been wonderful.
Oh, it's awesome. So speaking of with All Wheels Up and doing something that you're really passionate about and knowing that you're making a difference, potentially a difference that can affect all wheelchair users, how does that feel?
Wow, I never really thought about it that way. I just I've always just been driven to try to make the change. I guess because the change isn't necessarily here today. I just feel like I have to keep going for, I feel like I can't quit, because if I quit, then, what's going to happen. But in regards to how it makes me feel, I just feel fulfilled. I really enjoy the work that I'm doing, and I'm really glad that we're making progress. And whether the progress is slower than, say, myself or anybody in the wheelchair community would want, it is progress, and we'll take it, because even a snail gets from A to B.
Certainly. And yeah, when talking about progress, from any progress is better than no progress. So,
exactly.
Yeah, that is really cool. We focus a lot on mentorship for this podcast, clearly, Mentor Select. Can you tell us how mentors have played a role in your career?
Absolutely. I have had wonderful mentors in my apparel career. They started out as, they were my managers, and some, just really wanted to lift you up and make sure that you had a career path. And those were the managers and the mentors that, I'm still friends with today. People who aren't only invested in themselves and getting just their work done are people who I consider mentors, people who sit down with you and ask you, where do you see your career in 5 years from now, or not even that question, because that's like kind of like a general, it's, where, what do you really want to do here at this company? I usually would ask that question at other companies when I had people reporting into me. I was at I would always have these young ladies report to me, and my question to them was, where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself, in this company? I'm sure this is not exactly where you want to stay forever. And I think anybody who asks me that, or I ask somebody that, is, generally interested in helping you, pursue more in your career than just for you to stay where you are. And I don't think anyone or any one manager should expect the person to sit at their desk and just stay there. So I really appreciate that in managers who expect more from me or any one of their other direct reports to grow.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And you brought up a really good question as far as a manager action, like where do you want to go for the individual? Why is it important to know the answer to that question?
I think a lot of times, especially young people, they take the first job that they're given within a company. But once they're in, say, a company for a little while, they have visibility to other careers. And so I like to ask that question, because say they were in my area, but now they had the opportunity to see how a sales position is, or a different merchandising position. Now, now that you're within the organization, you might have a different idea of where do you want to see your career. And so I think in speaking with your manager and saying, hey, yes, I'm here, and this was a great opportunity for me, but I really think I would like to be in a different department. I don't think any manager should take that as a negative. You want to see somebody grow and prosper. So I would always just say, hey, I heard of a possible position open. Why don't we see what we can do about getting you to speak to somebody over there. I never took it as, oh, they don't like me, or oh, they don't like the work that we're doing. It's you want people to grow, and if they want to stay in my department, that's even better. But how do they become, how do they grow and develop within your own department, and what are next steps and growth paths for them?
It's all about growth, certainly.
Exactly.
If you're not getting better, then you're getting worse. In terms of, so since I've been knowing you, I noticed that you have a lot of business savvy in addition to being a hard worker. What's your philosophy in terms of with business, just overall, your philosophy when it comes to finding solutions? instead of just pointing out problems.
Oh, absolutely. I think we've had this conversation. Yeah. I'm definitely a big believer in you lead with the solution and not the problem. And that's my driving focus with All Wheels Up. But in regards to, don't be afraid to ask the questions. There isn't, I think, any one manager or leader who's going to, have all of the answers. And if you're looking at that problem, even if you address it as a problem, maybe to get to that solution, you're going to have to ask a lot of questions to get to the end result. So I would say whether it's trying to come up with that solution or just even trying to figure out next steps for yourself in your career path, just ask the questions.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm always curious about successful people's either just daily habits or any habits that they attribute to their success. So what are some habits that you attribute to your success?
Oh, Derek, I only have bad habits. We don't want to go there.
Only bad? No, that's impossible. I don't believe it.
I wouldn't say habits, but I have routines. I'll be honest, I'm not a morning person, but every morning I do listen to the news. It's something that I think is important. It really just keeps me updated on the world. In a almost newspaperless world, I do I do rely heavily on my morning radio to keep me posted. And then I work all day, at my regular job, and I stay focused. And then on my way home, I do Audible on my way home. I try to read books that will develop me for my career path, whether it be for All Wheels Up or my apparel industry career. So I was reading great books like How Women Rise, and now I'm reading or listening to a book about being coached, how to be a great coach. So I really try to take the opportunity on my downtimes to also be able to educate myself, whether I'm in the garden weeding, I'm listening to a book. So I really do try to fill as much time as I can into any 1 minute in my day.
Yeah, those are really good routines.
Yeah.
Awesome. And that's how my wife, she loves watching the news every morning. That's part of her morning routine. I tell her the news is depressing, but she needs to know what's going on. So I understand.
Yeah.
So Michele, you've given us a lot of great advice throughout this interview. As we prepare to wrap it up, what will be some parting words of advice that you would give to the listeners, especially people who are just don't know what direction, they're not fulfilled in their current career or just looking for something more, another opportunity to grow? What advice would you give them?
I would say do not get discouraged if you do not feel that you have something to be passionate about today, because I do believe as we move through the course of life, we eventually find passions. It could be anything from playing tennis to just, a new craft, or even just joining a book club. But sometimes you don't have to expect your passion to be this enormous epiphany. Sometimes it's really small, and I think that's equally okay. And again, just always be inquisitive, ask the questions to make yourself better.
Love it. So, Michele, how could the listeners get in contact with you?
I can be followed on Facebook at All Wheels Up, Twitter, and Instagram. And I can be reached at Michele Erwin, which is all one word, at allwheelsup.org.
Fantastic. And with All Wheels Up, it would being a nonprofit, how could some listeners want to support the organization? How could they go about doing that?
Absolutely. We have a lot of different options for people to donate. You can even donate your unused gift cards that you don't use if you don't shop at that store that you received a gift card at. So even if someone doesn't necessarily have the money to donate, we take gift cards. We also have opportunities for people to donate old cars. We are always looking for people to host fundraisers for us. We actually have one going on this weekend in New Jersey. So we really just love that. Yeah, we just really love the support that our community provides us. And if you're looking for other ways to support our organization, there is a tab on our website, allwheelsup.org, for ways to get involved. And we're always looking for volunteers. We need support. If you're interested in coming to DC with us, we'd love your help. If you're interested in creating a chapter, we're interested in hearing from you. We are creating chapters all over the world. We've just started one in Canada, and we're looking to have one in Australia. So, air travel is global, so we need to make sure that we're connecting globally.
Wow. Great. Awesome. Well, it's been a marvelous interview, giving us a lot of great virtual mentorship, and appreciate that. And looking forward to having you back. Thanks, Michele.
Thanks so much, Derek. Have a great day.
What a fantastic interview with Michele. Really appreciate her stopping by and sharing her just story and those golden gems that she shared with us throughout the interview. What's really inspirational about Michele's story is how she just led with a solution. It wasn't necessarily something she dreamed about growing up that she wanted to be in terms of founding a nonprofit, but she identified a problem and she decided that, hey, she wanted to be part of the solution. So she's leading the charge for that with All Wheels Up. And it's just a phenomenal organization that's making a lot of progress. So certainly any way that you can help, check out All Wheels Up, their website. You can donate, you can volunteer, you can just spread the awareness so that the wheelchair community and the travelers who use wheelchairs can travel in the same comfort that we all travel in. So it's definitely a great cause. Well, I'll be back next week with another guest mentor, so be sure to tune in.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Mentor Select podcast, helping you identify and follow your passions. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit mentorselect.com and Mentor Select on social media. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review. We'll catch you next time.